Hey there, I'm Melissa.
And I'm Nadia. Welcome to Navigating New Ground, where we dive into real, honest conversations about navigating life transitions away from home.
We are here to share our journeys, hear yours, and remind you that no one has to navigate new ground alone. So, today's episode is a part of Navigating Culture series, a conversation about the culture shocks while living abroad, as well as the ones we get when we return home.
We are very grateful to have a very special guest, Julia, or Juice for short. She is joining us today from Leipzig. Juice and I met in Stuttgart at church. We had a mutual friend there and got connected through bouldering. And 2 years ago, we almost sort of spontaneously went on a trip together to Croatia and had an amazing time there. And we are still in touch today. So, welcome to our podcast. And we're really glad to have you with us.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm excited.
So, your name is actually Julia. How do you get your nickname as Juice?
Ooh, ooh. I was 16, working in England on a campsite in the summer holidays, and yeah, just through misunderstanding with the language, and yeah, we were a lot of different people from all over Europe in the kitchen, and we had a Julia already, and the kitchen lady then said, okay, maybe we can give you a nickname, maybe Jules, and then the Russian guy, he understood Juice, and then through that it became Juice, and it stick to me till today. And
Oh, wow.
yeah, I think it's funny, and I used to work as a youth pastor in some time, and I think it was pretty cool to have a nickname like this. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice that it stuck with you for so long.
Yeah. Yeah, my cousin was there with me as well, so she took it over, and then
Yeah.
history.
Do you want to say a few words about yourself just to introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, my name is Julia aka Juice. I'm over 30 already, and working right now in a kindergarten as the kindergarten teacher. But before that, I was yeah, also a youth pastor and studying for becoming primary teacher. So I did some stuff in my life, and internationally, I enjoy traveling a lot. I enjoy visiting people in the other countries and getting to know their culture there. That's what I love more in traveling than just going to the beach somewhere. And through that, I also search always for international people in Germany. That's why I ended up in Stuttgart when I lived in the area, in an international church, and I enjoyed the international surrounding a lot, and started some food group in my house with internationals,
That's
and that
true.
was really fun because we had like Indian food or American food or Korean or I don't know, Philippine. So
Filipino,
it was,
yeah.
yeah, it was really cool. It was really nice. Um, yeah, and even now I moved to Leipzig 1 year ago, and even now I'm kind of searching for international people. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, that's me.
Is that harder than in Leipzig, you feel?
um, I think in Stuttgart it was easier through the church because the
Mm,
church had already the people, and now I'm still trying to find my place,
mm,
um, and through church again, it's kind of working because I'm going right now into a church where there are a lot of Spanish people or English speaking people or even from the Ukraine. So they translate in those three languages. So
nice.
there it's kind of easier now again, but I'm still not there yet. I'm still kind of getting to
Yeah.
know the people and all this. Yeah.
Hmm. Nice.
And I also heard from Nadia that you spent some time in South Africa.
Yeah, a long time ago, but yeah.
You want to tell us more about that, like when it happened, how long, and why did you even go to South Africa in the first place?
Yes, of course. Um, I was in school and I did my Abitur. That's like the I would say the highest degree in Germany you can do in school. And I didn't know what to do afterwards. And I felt like a little bit too dumb to go studying in that time. I mean, teenager or young youth person never knows what to do, right? So then I was thinking about it, and then in my mind it was like, why don't you do your voluntary year in another country? And that's how it started. And I searched for organizations where it is possible to go into another country. And then through the interviews with the organization, I was just in my mind, it was growing the idea of going to an African country. But I was never focused on South Africa. So, yeah, the one organization, she was actually the lady there, she was just showing me the projects in the different African countries. And I was just deciding the project. I like that one, and that was in South Africa. So it was not like I need to go to South Africa. I could have ended also in Tanzania or somewhere else. So yeah, that's why I decided to go there. And yeah, it was 2011, so it was not how it is now, this internet bubble thing where you can search so much or you can see so much from the country. So it was very interesting to get to know stuff from the country, because as a I'm very yeah, it's weird to say it now, but as a German European person, you have like a picture. But the funny thing is that your picture is more like, that's Africa. So a lot of people also around me were saying like, oh, are you sure? Because in Africa, this or that or that. And I was always like, um, yeah, this is our picture, but do you ever visited the country, or do you, from where do you know? Like this was always very tough in the beginning. So the people had a lot of fear putting it on me, and I was like, wait a minute, this is South Africa. But I only got into this mindset because I decided to go to South Africa, and then I was starting to think and to go and to search for, wow, this country is different than that. And yeah, but I think the European way of thinking is like Africa's one country, but it's not. And it's so different. So I was very often in a conflict between people, what they think Africa is and what it really is. And my organization, they had like seminaries before you go. So I was on those seminaries, and I got a mentor person who was already in that project in South Africa, and he could like tell me all the stories and how it is. So I had another picture after a while of everything. And it was still like very confusing me, everything, like what shall I believe? Because today you just Google or you just watch YouTube, and then you kind of have another picture, right? But in those days it was not that easy. So yeah, my my picture was more like, don't think too much about it, like just go for it, and then you will see what's happening. And it was more like, yeah, maybe I live in a bad house, I don't care. Maybe I live, I don't know, in a township, I don't care. Like really basic African way of thinking. And then when I ended up there, so I had like a positive culture shock. Can I say that? I don't know. Like it was not a bad one, because my what is the word, like what I was the thing I was thinking about the country, or what I will see there, was not high. So it was more like, oh, maybe I will have that, or maybe not. Who cares? I don't care. I'm excited. And then when I ended up there, I was like very positive, like, wow, we even have a washing machine. Oh, wow, I live in such a house. Nice. Like it was very positive. So going there, my culture shock was not that big. Yeah. Yeah.
How long were you there?
9 months actually. So it was I was going on a campsite there, and I was in the facilitating team. So the gap years from South Africa, so we were 10 to 12 people, were all national, and then me and another German, we came into this national team.
Mm.
So it was kind of a mixed team, but we were the only foreigners. But the team itself also had like all the culture, not all, but a lot of different cultures in it, because South Africa has, I think, officially 12 languages or something. So it's a completely multicultural country already itself. So we had um, people who are white, we had people who are black, we had people who are colored, and there are the differences in South Africa, because even between the with the black people culture, they have so many different cultures.
Yeah.
And then the coloreds are different again, because
Yes.
they even speak Afrikaans, like the European version language, mixed language that came through colonization and whatever. So and then the white people who are British, or the white people who are Afrikaans. So there were so many different people and cultures. And we all came together in this gap year group, not all, but a lot of different ones. So that was really interesting. And I think even they had culture shocks itself.
Mm,
In their own country.
yes.
And I like that idea that there is a campsite who is deciding to make a gap year, and then we bring a lot of different cultures together.
Mm.
And yeah, because I remember we came in August, September to South Africa, and the school year in South Africa is from January to December. So we came into a team that were already since January together. And in December they were leaving, and in January a new team was coming. And then we saw like how new people are coming to the housing, and then like the white collar people are going to one room, the other ones into the other room, and we were always separated. Like my other German friend and I, we were separated always, and
Wow.
we were like so confused, like what's happening here, like what's wrong with you, why don't you mix? And we needed to understand, yeah, of course, maybe some of the white people are only living a life with white people, and some of the other ones are only living in their kind of bubbles. So even going to school there, going to schools where only white people are going, or only black people, or like
Mm,
for them it was also kind of a culture shock, and they really needed to get to know each other. And then for us, we were kind of above them already, because we were already working on this campsite with different cultures, and now they come in, and it's yeah, it was an interesting thing to see. And then after some weeks they mixed up, but they really needed to the beginning to get to know each other like a normal group.
Mm.
But yeah, it was like that. That was really interesting for me to see that. Yeah, but I had some culture shocks, to go back to that. For me, so in the beginning, when you're only there for some months or a
mm,
year, there's kind of a limit, and then you're open for everything, and you want to get to know everything. But still, there are moments where it's kind of weird for yourself.
yeah.
The good thing was that I was not completely alone. There was another German with me. We decided from the beginning we don't talk German. We talk only English, and yeah, that's also the reason why we separated the rooms and whatever.
Mm,
But when we had like really struggling moments, then we were sometimes saying to each other, let's go for a walk or something. And then we
yeah.
kind of disappeared, and then we talked German, and then we talked about the issues we had. So we had like a little option to escape the thing or the bubble or wherever we are to our German thing. And that was really helpful sometimes. Um, so yeah, and then another thing was, we were on a campsite, so we were completely protected. The campsite was surrounded by security, and we lived on the campsite. We did everything on the campsite. We were not even able to just pick the car and go for a shopping mall or something. So it was all like we were really protected. In that time there, I was not thinking about it, that it could be maybe bad or something. But when I'm reflecting it on now, I'm sometimes like, wow, we were too protected. Like I do not even really got to know the culture in the country or the life in the country.
Yeah.
Because we really had to ask, and then we went as a team to a shop or something, or we went to church outside, but as a team. So I never did something by myself outside this bubble, and that was sometimes in the end, and also like when my parents came for visit, then I did that. Then it was weird. It was really weird to see the real life, and then it was a culture shock sometimes, because in this bubble, yeah, of course you have different people, but not like the real whole thing. um yeah, that was interesting, like, yeah, being in a closed door. um yeah, and I had, that's a very funny, actually, I had a friend that this year from South Africa, and she kind of never left the country, and it was the first time she came to another country, and then Germany, and maybe she went to Mozambique or something, but not really like out of the whole way of thinking, or a completely different kind of country. So this year she was visiting a friend in Germany from South Africa. So she was with that person in Germany, but then she came to visit me, and it was very interesting because in South Africa you don't walk on the street, and we were walking on the street like very openly and free. And I remember the one day we were in Leipzig around, and then we came back, and then my car is parked on the street somewhere. You would never do that in South Africa. You would not even have those options. And I remember we came back from, we were using public transportation, so we were walking back to my flat, and then she was like, "Oh, we need to check on your car." And I was like, "Why?" And she was like, "Yeah, we need to check on your car." And I was like, "Hey, but not in Germany. We are in Germany. We don't need that." And she was so, "No, we need." And then I did it for her, but I knew, like, yeah, of course, in South Africa this is different. Like I
Yeah.
remember in South Africa driving on the streets, you had to close your car, you close the windows, like
Yes.
protect yourself so differently than here. And
Yeah.
I was, to be honest, I was happy being back in Germany to be free again. Like not only this, oh, we were protected on the campsite, but
Yes.
only also like just walking on the street,
Yeah.
just cycling on the street, like not driving with the car. That was for me most annoying thing. You cannot even go to the supermarket walking, like, or cycling. Like you need to get the car. um yeah, that was, I realized it afterwards how I missed that.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so when your parents came to visit you in South Africa and then you left your bubble for the first time, was there like one specific memory that you remember maybe that was just, wow, that's so different from what I'm used to?
At first it was different to be kind of free. It sounds bad, but maybe I think you understand what I mean.
Yeah.
I could use the car and drive with my parents, but then I was afraid, actually. I wanted to show them a craft market or whatever, and then I was asking um, a friend who was not in my team, but who was, I knew that guy from, because he helped out sometimes with the facilitation. So I asked him to come with us. So we were going together with him to the craft market, and yeah, I was, because I never did this all by myself, I was a little bit scared. But then we also flew to Cape Town together, only the three of us, and that was interesting because on the one hand I was kind of excited and maybe a little bit afraid, but not really, because I felt like I know the cultures, right? So I have seen so many different people on the campsite. There are so many different people coming in and out. So I felt not safe, secure. And I told my parents, don't show that you're tourists. Like, I had some thoughts like how to deal with those situations I'm a little bit afraid of. So I think that people couldn't really see on my side that I'm a foreigner, but so, and I tried to put this also on my parents, that they, don't put your camera here in front and whatever, like, right? So it was very interesting, and I grew through that a lot. And I remember it was in January they came, and then after January I was more secure in the country, and I felt like I know more about the country now because I did this. Yeah, and it was, but we spent also a lot of time on the campsite, or also we had a second campsite. We went also together there, so it was not a lot alone somewhere else.
Wow. Yeah. Safety is a big thing.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But I love the country. I love the cultures, and I love the countryside. And it's always so different wherever you go. It's looking different. It's a huge country, so I love it. I
Nice.
traveled there afterwards so many times. I love it, and I visited
Nice.
some friends there, right? So
Yeah.
and then
Nice.
I saw how people really are living there. So it was different again.
Yeah.
Africa is one of my lists. I remember when I was young, I went to a book fair and I bought two books. One is Germany, and one is South Africa.
Oh,
And now
wow.
I've been in Germany. I still yet to go to Africa yet, but it's still on my list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to go there. Maybe I
Nice.
can ask you more when I plan to go there.
Yeah, you can definitely. One thing, I maybe you know Trevor Noah. It's a comedy, South African comedy guy, and I remember he was kind of famous in South Africa when I was there, but I mean lately he was famous through America, and he wrote a book like Born a Crime, I think
Yeah.
was it. And I read that book in English, and for me, it opened a lot of situations I experienced with people from the country there in my team, like situations. I don't remember what kind of situations, but when I was reading, I was like, whoa, that's why the person was reacting like this in this situation. So this book helped me a lot to understand more and more the culture. So maybe this is also a thing to read before you go there. But yeah, of course, I had more experiences, so I was more into this book, and I was like, "Wow, this is amazing!" Yeah, I wish I could have read that before, but I don't know if I would have understand it the way I did now afterwards.
True. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also a funny book. So.
Yeah, it's very funny how he's talking about all those situations, and that are actually not funny, but yeah, it's a very funny book. And I prefer to, if you understand English, read it in English. I think it's more fun and more understandable.
I think there's also an audio book, and then the voice is actually his voice, so then it's even funnier.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yes.
Okay.
That's
That was
nice.
interesting.
But this is also one thing with the language. I just said, so my English marks in school were bad, like really bad. And I couldn't understand. I think there was a teacher thing in it. Because I even had somebody from Great Britain who was learning with me and talking, and she couldn't speak German, so we were only doing my homework in English. We could only speak English. So I loved English. I watched English movies, and I couldn't understand why I had bad marks. But anyway, and I remember the day when she gave me the last mark before I ended school, and then she asked me what I'm doing after school, and I said I go to South Africa, and she was like, her face was dropping, and she was like not understanding how I can do that. I was just like, yeah, I love the language, I can do that, and and it was really interesting. So when I went to South Africa, I was positive in the language, not like typical German. You know, Germans are like, they learn for so many years the language, but they are still afraid to use it. But on the other hand, because we two Germans said we don't talk German, we really had to talk English, right? So we were just using it, and we knew the people will laugh about us or whatever. But that is one thing I learned through that. Just use the language, just talk in the language of the country, because you learn so much, and at the end it helps you. And who cares if they laugh about you? Maybe they laugh right now about you, but they also know you're a foreigner, and they were so positive and teaching us so much. So sometimes I'm when I'm going in Germany through the city and then I see people and people tell me, yeah, I understand, but I'm not talking because I'm afraid, then I'm like, that's sad because it's just something good for you. It's not,
Yes.
you learn so much through that. And yeah, I would love to encourage more and more people to just talk the language. We know, we as people in the country, we know that you are not grown up with that language, and that's fine. But
Yes.
appreciate you trying. And
Yes. Yes.
yeah, so I learned a lot in this, and then I learned, to be honest, the South African English. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, there's a difference. When I was now in Canada, I mean, I realized it already several times in Stuttgart with internationals, but also in Canada, like I remember I once I was talking and then I was saying, yeah, and then we go to the braai. And that's actually the South African word for barbecue. And they didn't understand, and I saw on the face they don't know what I mean. And I was like, but this is English, so what's the issue? And then after a while I was like, oh, sorry, that was a South African word. I mean, yeah, barbecue. So this is very funny sometimes, where I'm sometimes in my head like using also African or South African phrases you would never use in America or Canada or Great Britain. So this is sometimes very funny. So my English is influenced.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
We used
And
to have
also,
our Malaysian English, and we try to not use those when we are speaking with people who are not from Malaysia. But sometimes it's true, it's quite tricky to remember which is the really authentic English and which are the just influenced by our culture, our other languages from the country. So I
Yes.
understand what you mean by that.
mm,
So
and
you were there for 9 months?
Yes. Yes.
And so after 9 months, then you just came back to Germany, and are there like any differences, or is it how is it for you to come back to Germany and go back to the German routine, like you shared earlier about feeling more free? And other than that, do you have any big differences that you felt? Or
Yeah, I think doing it in that age where you still try to find out who you are, it's always like interesting. And because you become kind of another person, right? You experience so much
yeah,
and you come back and the people are different and you are different. And the
yes,
people, but in Germany, don't think they are different
yes,
and they don't think you are different. So it's difficult. I remember my family, they were cute. They were organizing a welcome back party with my
mm,
youth from the church. I used to go, I mean, I was in this youth group since I was 13. So like 6 years or longer, I don't know. We were together, we knew each other like where we were. We saw every week twice or more. It was, yeah, we did shared a lot. And then I was gone, and I mean, in that time, it was not so easy to stay connected, right? So you really had to write an email or make a date where you maybe Skype. And it was difficult because I, even in South Africa, I had to go out of my house somewhere into another house and in the darkness with the animal snakes, whatever, baboons. Like sometimes it was scary to do that, just to go on a phone call with somebody. Like, yeah, it was, yeah, I was not doing it so much, only with family and sometimes with friends, but also the friends from Germany, they lost, that sounds bad, but they lost kind of interest. I mean, you, when you
mm,
move away, it's normal that you stop talking with people. You are surrounded with your own life and your own bubble, right? So
yeah,
for me, it was pretty interesting to come back on having this party. That's beautiful, everybody's there,
yeah,
but I felt like a stranger. Like,
mm,
you know, the thing, like, I know those people know me, but still I'm a stranger.
mm-hmm,
And I remember they asked me questions, and then when I started to explain or say something, they were like losing the interest very quickly. You could see in the face, or they not, maybe not losing interest, but they couldn't understand it. Like,
yeah,
and this was for me like, okay, I'm not talking and I'm not telling stories because I was kind of confused, like, what shall I talk now when I'm now talking about South Africa? And with in the kindergarten, I sometimes tell stories, and the kids are excited with the snakes and whatever. Like, I make like a story out of it, right? Now it's not a story, and it's a long time ago, but in that time it was confusing me, and it really helped me to have my parents around, because my parents, they visited me, and they don't speak English, but they saw they experienced the country, they experienced the people, they experienced the campsite, everything I was living in. And then when I came back home, they were listening to me. They maybe couldn't understand everything, but they were listening to me in another way. And that was helping me a lot. Having somebody who is kind of understanding it. And for me, I learned out of this a little bit. When I was a youth pastor, I had those youth, right, who's ending school and then maybe doing a voluntary year somewhere else. And I actually visited them. I even visited one in Mannheim, or even in Gran Canaria. I flew there to visit her.
Oh.
Yes, and it was very interesting, because afterwards I could really listen, and I could talk with that kids or youth differently. And I think you really, if you know somebody coming back, you should really give your ear. Also, you were never there, and try to understand and try to listen. And I think if you go back somewhere, you need to find before already a group or people who experience similar things. And I think sometimes it's enough to have somebody who lived already in another country.
True.
But yeah, I think that's important, that you don't surround yourself with the old stuff too much, because I think it helps more to surround yourself maybe with new people, but people who understands you more. Yeah, that helped me a lot. And because of that, I came back, and then I was like, nah, I'm gone. I'm traveling. Ciao. But also, like, like being just at one place the whole year, kind of thing, or two places. I was kind of, before already, when I was 18, I got my car, I was traveling through whole Germany, I was visiting friends. So now I was kind of stuck. It was beautiful, but then I needed it again. I needed to break out. So I was just coming home for 3 days, I think. It was really 3 days. And then I left, and I traveled, and I visited friends. So, and then I organized also what's happening next, because this was for me also not clear yet, what is happening after that. So when I came back, then I had my culture shocks. Like I told Nadia already one story, and that was a funny story, actually. My mom and my parents were at work, and I thought, like, even before I did my own washing and whatever, so I went to the washing machine and wanted to do my washing, and then I cried because I didn't know how to put it on. And I was like, wait a minute, you always did it before. What's the problem? But it was just like, in South Africa, you put it in, there was no hot water, you would just switch it on. Done. And here's so many options. And I was so confused. And I even called my mom crying. And she was, what's wrong? I was like, Mom, how do I start the washing machine? She was like, just like always. I was like, no, I don't understand it. And she had to explain to me. So this was one of my hardest thing, actually, to realize now you're back in Germany, and now you're back in a system that's working, and like good working and organized and whatever. Like, I remember I was going to South Africa, and I knew, of course, this they are maybe not on time or whatever. South African timing is different, but then it was fine for me because I knew. And then coming back to Germany, it was like, ugh, annoying. Like, those people, why are they always so stressed, and why are they always so on time? Actually, until today, in my private life, I'm mostly 5 minutes late or 10 minutes late. It's like, then I'm kind of South African, or I don't know what's in, but I don't have it so much into myself now. Like, I need to, I know, I don't know. It's weird. It's really weird. But those things were making me crazy sometimes. Like, ugh, people just take life more easier. Uh, yeah, it was one of those
But
moments.
very nice. Yeah. And you also mentioned that you spent some time in Canada. Did you also experience any culture shocks there?
Oh, Canada. Um, Canada was different, to be honest. With Canada last year, I decided to pack everything in the storage and then go to Canada, and then not
Mm,
knowing how long I'm staying, and
mm,
not knowing what's happening with my life. I had a flight back, but still it was kind of everything open, because I needed kind of a break of my life and everything. Mm, the the different part, or more complicated part, was um, there was also a campsite, but I visited my South African family, like the managers from South Africa I used to live with. They moved to Canada and they started campsiting there now. And so I visited South African people in Canada, and then having summer camps with Canadians. That
mm,
was interesting because the way I was sometimes smiling and thinking and looking at them and seeing like, yeah, that's a South African style, I know, but these are the Western people. Like, I sometimes I had just to smile because I could understand both sides sometimes, and I was standing
mm,
in between. But also, yeah, then the Canadian. I worked with the youth and young adults there,
mhm,
and it was interesting. It was really interesting for me. Mm, my mindset to, in Germany, we are kind of, or I am proud to be German, or I'm proud to be European, but we don't show it. It's
mm,
more so, yeah, we are happy. We can travel wherever we want to in Europe. We can live wherever we want to, and we
mm,
can work wherever we want to. We are happy. Like, that's not a big thing. But maybe also because our countries are so small, we more feel like European, like in a bigger picture. But like in Africa, South Africans are different than North African people. It's in Canada also, like, for us European, America is, the Americans are more like, yeah, the US, but also Canadian, and maybe, yeah, we mix them a little bit because of those big countries,
yeah.
right? But then I had to realize so much that the Canadian don't like it. And
Mhm.
I was always using the phrase, but you Americans, like, and I had to learn, no, you need to change this way of speaking. But it's hard because in your mind and what you see on television, this American thing, like bigger cars, bigger houses, bigger, everything is bigger, bigger, bigger. This is in
Mm,
Canadian too. So for me, it was
mm,
really hard to, but where do I split? Because this is my American picture, what I have. And that was sometimes very tough,
mm,
to change that and change my language in that. I'm one example that was also mind blowing a little bit. My parents, they are retired now, and before they did that, they sold their house we were growing up in and bought a little flat where everything is smaller, and but also working good for when they get older, like with the
yes.
wheelchair, whatever, right? So
Mhm.
with the lift, elevator, and all these kind of things, right? The shower is on one level with the floor, whatever. And when I went to Canada and seeing the people who are kind of preparing for their retirement, they are buying bigger houses and making everything bigger. And I was like, what? But who's cleaning? I remember I was one lady I was asking, but who's cleaning all this? And you're kind of retired. And I
Yes.
see my mom in my head and I think, she's tired and sick of cleaning. I'm happy that she's not having so much to clean anymore. And she
Mhm.
was like, yeah, me. And I was like,
What?
nah, this is this is culturally so different and I don't get it.
Mm,
And I
mm,
can understand because you have the countryside, you have the space, and in Germany,
yes.
like everything is smaller and you don't have space. So maybe that's the issue. But yeah, there were some things where I was like, nah, I will not understand it because I just live in Europe or in Germany where it's different. And I wouldn't say it's wrong or bad or whatever. It's just different, and it's
Yes.
okay. But for this were some things I knew before, but then seeing it there, it was interesting again. Yeah, and then working with the teenagers or youth, that was also interesting. How they talk about some things and then using phrases or words, where I had to ask sometimes what they really mean with that, because I thought about other things. And I mean, we use a lot of English in our language, like dating, for example. That's one of those words. We use that, but we would maybe use it differently. If I talk about dating, then I'm getting to know this person and we are not a couple. But with those when they were using dating, they were like, we are in a relationship. And I was like, no. This is me. Like those things, like they use the words differently. And like I said, I use some phrases from South Africa and whatever, or from Germany. Like that was sometimes interesting. Yeah, the language barrier. And then, but also having a South African person there, and then going back to the South African mindset and whatever, like switching the whole time. That was interesting. That was really interesting. And yeah, I don't know if I there it's kind of the same. I mean, you can go outside hiking and doing whatever, but still, like, I just did it. But I think the youth were not never going alone and everything. I mean, safety first, blah blah.
Yeah.
But I still did a lot with the car, and this was for me pretty sad. And there I also kind of missed the fact that I can just go to the
Yes.
supermarket by
Yeah.
with my bike or with
Just
my
walk.
food. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, this
Yeah.
was
You have really been to many different countries and really experienced deeply their culture. And
Yeah.
now I heard you are in Leipzig, very new in Leipzig. Do you feel like how have the experience been for you, like being now in a new city where you've never been, but back in Germany, something you're familiar with? Is there any challenges, or how do you feel now?
yeah, I think it's pretty interesting to move in one country itself, and I think there's already possibilities for culture shocks or yeah, things you don't understand. And I had this in Leipzig. So I was grown up more in middle western Germany,
Mm,
and then South Africa, and then I moved again to middle western Germany, kind of the same culture thing. But
mm,
then I moved to South Germany with the Siberian dialect and culture. That was already different.
yeah,
And then after, I think I lived there 8 years. After a while, I I even have some words in myself already that I use now, and it's weird. So I adopted it, but it's kind of the western part in Germany is kind of different than the
yeah,
eastern part. And now living in eastern Germany,
Mm.
I had some situations where I was like, "This is interesting and this is different." But I think that's normal when you move somewhere. Doesn't matter where you move. The
Yeah.
people are in their own bubble, and you are a stranger coming there, and then you have to find your place. And I think
mm,
it's always hard. Doesn't matter if you go to another country or if you. I mean, I moved in my own country somewhere else, and
yeah,
it's tough. And
Yeah.
after 1 year living here, I'm still not having my bubble or my everything organized or whatever. Like
Mm.
I still feel like I'm getting to know everything, but I think it's okay. And mm, I really think take your time. I mean, it's different if you know I'm just staying here for a year and then I'm leaving, because then you
mm,
deal with the situations and with everything differently.
Yes.
But if you don't know when it's ending and you just
yeah,
decide to live here,
Yeah.
then you need to take your time. And
Yes.
I would say you need at least 3 years. Yeah.
Mm.
So for me, mm, I'm positive. um,
that's good.
and I'm looking
Yes.
forward what's still coming.
Yeah.
Um, and we will see. Maybe I will laugh in 3 years about everything, but yeah, maybe who knows, maybe I'm not living in 3 years. I don't know. I don't know what's coming. And I love that still, because I think, so I'm a Christian, and God sent me here for a reason.
Yeah.
So, and I believe and trust that God has a plan for that.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a tough year sometimes, of course, especially in finding a church or finding friends. And I'm still not happy with those things, but I want to trust God in that, and believe Him that I'm here for a reason, and He's
Yeah.
making the right thing with me and preparing me maybe for something different, or I don't know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
I really like Leipzig a lot. Last time when we were studying in Dessau, we always travel to Leipzig, other than Berlin, because Leipzig is even closer. And actually, the first city that I landed when my first time here coming to Germany was Leipzig.
Nice.
But that time the weather was really bad. I arrived at the
Um,
airport with the rain and all, and have to drag my luggage. But after that, during the student life, we were traveling. I really like I don't know, there are some art vibes in Leipzig that I really love. Especially last time we visited the Spinnerei, it was so cool. I don't
oh,
know
I
if
haven't seen that.
is it the Spinnerei is like an old fabric, an old factory, and then they have lots of art galleries. I hope they still survive though, because for that
I
we're struggling.
I need to see that. Thanks for that.
I really hope they still surviving there, because yeah, there's lots of cool galleries there. That's what I remember about Leipzig. But maybe you can even
Well.
Dessau.
Yeah, but what I also realize now, I'm not ashamed of I lived in Stuttgart and I have the Bavarian accent sometimes coming through, or whatever was the words. I'm not ashamed of this anymore. And I remember after South Africa, I didn't know who I am, what to do, whom shall I show. Those Germans may be struggling with what I'm saying. Oh, I use some phrases, and yeah. So, but I never wanted to lose everything. So I still kind of tried to cook my poiki and my pap. Pap never worked anyway. But like the boerewurst kind of, and I chutney chicken. I tried the food, for example, a lot, and I still do. I still go. I have here my a garden actually, and I still go there and cook poiki on a fireplace, like in a fire, like we used to do in South Africa with the coke, and it's a weird recipe we use in the kitchen, but I still use that. It's really weird. And for me, I'm not ashamed of this anymore. Like also with the Bavarian food I'm cooking here now, I'm like, this is me, and I have a lot of influences inside of me, and that's fine. And I don't care what you think.
Yeah.
Get to know me who I am, and I'm kind of international. But yeah, this is me, and yeah, I'm not ashamed of this anymore. So this is one thing I would love to tell people: hey, if you move somewhere else, just be yourself and don't be afraid of that you lived somewhere else already. Like no, that are experiences and that formed you, and that's who you are, and this is plus. This is
Yeah.
plus plus plus, so much plus. So I know some people who are embarrassed about their backstories, and then I'm always so sad, because I think like, but those experiences you have made, the people around you have never made. So you are the person because of that, and not because of the people around you. So yeah, I would say be proud of you, the different yourself, and don't change to the back one. Again, I think that's never good. And I stick to that. Even parents in the kindergarten ask me, "Oh, you're not from here," and I'm like, "Yeah, I have this Bavarian accent sometimes, but I'm actually grown up somewhere else." So, so yeah.
Yeah, and it's God also writing your story so that you can be a blessing wherever you are. So definitely something to embrace.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
Very inspiring to hear that, because I think for us, we are all mostly no longer living in our where we used to grow up in, and I think a lot of time we don't give credit for ourselves of how much courage
It's
it takes
true. Yeah.
to adapt to a new place, to
Oh yeah.
things. and it even makes me want to cry.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, it's a struggle to adapt to that place, and once you get adapted to it, and when you go home, then you feel like home is no longer home. You know, it's not.
Yeah.
You feel like a stranger at your own home. That feeling, I feel, is very relatable, and it's not so easy. Um, I think only people who move away from home can understand that feeling.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's yeah, I really like how you say that. Don't be ashamed of it, because everything is a plus. Even the new experience you gain from a new country, after bringing it back, it's a plus. You are still who you are, who's
Mm.
were. You just added new things, and it's like new
Yes.
flavor to a dish, and that
Yeah.
just makes it more rich and more flavorful, I would say. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm.
I had a
Mm.
friend, she was a missionary child, and she lived nearly 13 years in another country, or grew up in another country. So her first 13 years, and then she came back she, to Germany. So the parents came back, and
Yeah.
then she had to adopt the German culture. In her head, I mean, it was clear I'm a German, but then her feelings were not. I'm not a German because everything is different here, right?
Yes.
And I remember when I met her, so she never had a home city. Like, I mean,
Mm.
of course, the home city is in that country where they used to live. But
Mm-hmm.
when people in Germany asked her, and obviously in her mind, I'm a German, then she never told the truth. She couldn't tell the truth. It was always like she always said where her parents living now, but she never used to live there. So she couldn't say. And then I was like, why do you not just say who you are? I mean, stand
Mm.
to who you are.
Mm.
And then she said, but I don't have a home. And this was very interesting for me. Like, why don't you have a home? Like, and she was like, you know, for me as a missionary child, like it's more home is in heaven. And
Mm.
I don't have a home here, and that's fine. My identity is in God. And for me,
Mm.
that
Wow.
helped me sometimes. Like, who cares where you're living? Who cares
Yeah.
where you think your home is? That's not your. That shouldn't be your home. Your home should be God and yeah,
Yes.
heaven one day. And I think that helped me a lot. Like, not taking it too serious. Like,
Yes.
also when people ask me, then I'm like, yeah, I used to live there before. So how I
Yeah.
feel right now, like because um where I grew up, this is so long ago. I cannot even remember a lot of things. So yeah, just how you feel. Like if it's now Leipzig, then it's now Leipzig. If it's still Ludwigsburg, like around Stuttgart, then it's still Ludwigsburg.
Mm.
And who
Mm.
cares? Like who should
Yeah.
judge? I mean,
Yeah.
they can only if they are also Swabians and realize like you're not a proper Swabian, then you can talk about it and then you can explain. Like, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I like the idea. Like I don't have a home here on earth. My home is on heaven. In heaven, I like that.
Very nice.
I
Yes.
I used to feel guilty about admitting that, because I've been living in Germany for 7 years now, and after getting married, I live in this current apartment with my husband. And um, even when people ask me like, "Where's your family?" or like, "Where's your home?" I used to feel guilty about not saying Malaysia is my home and
Mm.
my original family as my family. And I've never thought in my mind that my husband is currently my family, or like the house we are living in is my home. I never see it that way. I always see it
Mm.
just an apartment that I'm renting and temporarily living. But only recently that as we slowly setting up the home and making it comfortable, and this period of time where I just reflect, had more time to think about why we are at where we are, and it just gives me that feeling like actually God placed us here at this moment for a purpose, and I
Mm-hmm.
have to start accepting that currently at this moment
Yes.
here where am I,
Yeah.
it's my home, and I have to
Yeah.
accept that in me, that I'm staying here. God gave me this place, so I have to make it comfortable. But before this,
Um.
every single place that I rented, I just didn't want to make it feel small at home, because I want
Mm.
it to feel permanent. I don't want it to feel
Mm-hmm.
that I have to stay here and I'm settled. I feel guilty even feeling settled here, because I feel like I
Mm.
cannot answer my family who's at home at Malaysia waiting for me to go home. It's just a
Mm.
guilty But now I have to slowly let go and remember that, yeah, everywhere that we are in right now, it's our home. No matter
Yes.
if it's for 3 months or 1 year, we do not know, but God placed us there for a reason. And I really like how you say our home is really, really in heaven. So every single
Mm-hmm.
place, even our birthplace, is temporary.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's the
And it can be the
same.
worst place ever, but still you have a nice life, you know, like it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't show people who you are, not at all.
Mm,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I started to do that a lot, like even now in Leipzig it was quickly home because yeah, I stored all my stuff and then I brought it in here and then I had my stuff in here and then it was like, yeah, it's home, like I
Mm-hmm.
feel comfortable. And I think it's very important. I even make my own Christmas program and do my own things because
Yeah.
yeah, I'm right now not married, but I still can have my own life and
Mm-hmm.
always saying like, oh, I will make plans when I'm married, blah 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 blah.
No.
No, I live now and I
yes.
make it comfortable for myself right now, like
Yes.
you said, like that I feel home and nice, and I think that's very important.
Yes.
And then it doesn't matter where you live.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can even do it in Asia or in
Mm-hmm.
America or in
Yeah.
Africa. I even did.
Yeah.
Oh, that was funny. Christmas was hard in South Africa. That was
Oh.
really hard because it was hot summer, right? And yeah, no Christmas tree, blah 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 blah. But they bought us Germans like little advent calendar, like chocolate thing. That was sweet. And then we decided, oh, we make cookies, and then we make little Christmas cookies and bring them to the staff for Christmas. So we asked the one kitchen lady to help us. That was tough because it was so hot and the
Everything
dough was
melts.
kind of melting the whole time. We always had to put it in the fridge, and but it was fun to bring your own culture or have still your own culture there and say, yeah, but this is us. And we even put like for Nikolaus Day, like the
Yeah.
what's the 2nd of December, we even put like little treats into the shoes of the people, and they were
What?
confused. What is this? We're like, German culture. So yeah, I think you really, like you said, make yourself home and comfortable and enjoy life. And yeah.
It's also the same for me, being a third culture kid. Like, I have the Indonesian passport. I was born there, but then we moved as a family when I was 6, and I grew up in Malaysia. So I feel so much more Malaysian than Indonesian, but yet not fully one or the other. And then I moved to Singapore, I moved to Germany. I lived in several cities in Germany as well. And it took me a while to understand my identity, because I think that was something that I struggled with for a very long time. Like, I didn't know how to answer people when they would ask me, "Where are you from?" But then I had to go through a journey of understanding that all of that, my entire story, makes me me. And that's how God wrote my story. And I had to accept that. I had to embrace that. And also, at the end of it, when you understand that your true identity is in Christ, all of these things, they don't matter anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I have also one thing from South Africa. I just had it some days ago. It was so funny. So in South Africa, we used to say sorry when you hurt yourself, and I'm not fault. For example, if you just, I don't know, your head against the wall, I don't know, it's a stupid example, it doesn't matter. And then it's your own fault, but then you stand somewhere in the room and you say, oh, sorry. So this is something I took over, and I still have it because I think I love it. I love the kind of respect, or I don't know, feel with you thing.
Mm.
I just love it. And recently in kindergarten, a colleague, he hurt himself, and then I was saying sorry, and he was like,
Why are
Juice,
you sorry?
it's not your fault. And I was like, this is a South African thing. Sorry, I'm just still using it and I will not change it because I think it's nice. And this is funny because I haven't lived for so long in South Africa, right? But still I have it
Mm.
because I decided this is part of me because I like it. And
Mm.
um yeah, I don't care if people are looking weird at me and say, why you do that? I don't care because I decided I like it and this is
Mm.
part of me now. So yeah, this is one example. Like you decide who you are, kind
Yeah.
of, and whom you present to people.
Mm.
And if it's something you learned in another country, then it's from another country. Who cares?
Mm. Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah. And sometimes I think when people ask me where I'm from, then sometimes I say, oh, my parents live there and I used to live there. So I don't care anymore to show the diversity in my life with the can I say that, with the diversity? I don't know.
Yes.
But I used to live, so yeah. But it's a tough thing. Tough thing to learn that.
Yes, it comes with its challenges, but then you do see the beauty and the blessings.
Yeah.
So we're coming slowly to a close. Is there any advice that you would give our audience, for example, when they decide to move back from living abroad?
Okay, I need to explain it a little bit.
Okay.
So with me in South Africa, when I knew, okay, there are 3 weeks left. I think it was 3 weeks left, and then I'm flying back. I started already to think German. Really, I was thinking in English, and then I
Wow.
started thinking German again. So I was in my mind already going back, or I was already back in my mind. And then I started struggling. Then I started struggling with the language. I started struggling with driving. I mean, you drive there on the other side. Going there was no issue. But then the weeks before I left, I was sometimes going the wrong side with the car. And they were like, Juice, what's wrong? You're driving already so long here. And I was like, yeah, but my thoughts are already going back home. And yeah. And I think in that time, maybe I needed people surround me, or I had to. Now it's easy, you can just write people, right? So write to people at home, or talk to them, or start making those connections already. I think that helps you then when you're coming back home. With me, I came, like I said, and I felt like a stranger. So maybe this helps, like surround yourself already some weeks before with people from that country, or I think you understand what I mean, or like I said, with group of people, or people who have the same experiences but are back there. Yeah, that can understand you in your situation. And yeah, another thing, be proud on who you are. Like I said, like the different you, that's fine. Be proud on that, and don't try to change it again. And also still cook your stuff and food, and don't forget it. Just stick to that. And also, if people around you maybe are annoyed, then find other people, like whatever. Yeah, I think that's kind of important. And yeah, and also I like the idea of helping other people. Like if you see people who are coming back home, then be there for them, because you know how it was, and see those people and help them. I think that's really nice. That's why I like this podcast, actually. I'm so excited to hear all the stories. I'm really excited. Yeah, I think it helps a lot to talk about it.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time, for sharing everything, and for coming here. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on Navigating New Ground. We hope today's conversation gave you some insight, support, or just a reminder that you're never alone in the journey.
Yes, and if you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a comment, and share it with someone who might need it. You can find and follow us on Spotify, Instagram, and Apple Podcasts. Until next time, take care.
Bye.